Hello and welcome back to the Villa Villa podcast. I'm here as always, my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, pretty shitty week in general, right? So the last podcast
Yeah,
we did, you'd got back from Seville. Uh, we didn't do a preview because Dan somehow got COVID,
yeah,
and
man.
Dan's been feeling really shit and sorry for himself for the past few days. And now Villa have come on and ruined his bank holiday weekend. They've ruined all of our bank holiday weekends, but I feel like it's a right misery compiler for you, mate. And to make it worse, you've worked today as well. Everything comes in threes, obviously.
Yeah,
So
man.
at least the worst of it is said and done now. Aside from all that crap, mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. It's been a weird few days. Yeah, it's my fault, guys. There's a reason there wasn't a preview. It's because I was feeling dog rough, absolutely
We
awful.
can't we can't record a
Um,
preview when you're like dying, bro.
nah,
It's
it
not
would not have
like we're
been.
not doing
It
that.
would, mate. I tried yesterday. I tried working. Because I just said to you off air, I was like, the worst thing about being ill for me, man, is like, I just can't deal with the boredom of like just lying in a room in the dark, not being able to do anything. I find if I just distract myself, I can do better. And obviously, I can't go into the office, like, you don't want to pass it on to anyone. So I was like, right, I'm going to try working. I got on the 9 o'clock Zoom meeting. I was sat literally where I am right now, and I was sweating bullets and stuff like that. I felt like I was going to fall off my bar stool. And I was like, after the meeting, I just messaged my manager. I was like, nah, bro, this is not it. But I'm feeling a bit better today. Well enough. I hoped I'd be able to be feeling a bit brighter and discuss a victory with you here today, mate. But that'd just be a bit too much, wouldn't it?
It would. Before we get into it, I told you this morning I had a Villa Villa story
Yes,
that I thought
yeah,
we'd
yeah.
share. So
Brighten
we
the
can
mood,
get
mate.
some exactly. So was out in Brum last night um for my best mate's birthday,
Classic.
Rough Alex's birthday. Ended up in prison. I'm too old for that shit, man. Firstly. Um but we invited my friend Jake was there as well. I was in New York with Jake, and I'm just trying to think. I don't think you'd have met him, Dan. But he's on the masters course at UCFB with Alex, so that's how I know Jake. And Jake's a Villa fan, which is great. Me and Jake go home and away when I'm not with Sam. Um, so shout out to Jake. But we've got to give a shout out to Jake's mom because Jake's mom, Dawn, is a huge, and I mean huge fan of the Villa Villa podcast. So
Oh,
when I
no
saw Jake
way.
yesterday, I'd not seen Jake since last home game of the season, probably. Just with like being away, and obviously there not being any football,
Hmm.
and living in Sheffield. I've not seen Jake for a while. So Jake was on this night out, and I was like, we was catching up, we was having all the small talk, and he goes, "Oh mate, you won't believe it." He goes, "I FaceTimed my mum the other day, and she says, oh Jake, do you mind if I call you back in 20 minutes?" And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So it puts the phone down and she sends a picture of us on the telly. And she's like, I'm just watching Dan on the telly. I'll call you back in 20 minutes. So shout out to Dogs. I know you'll be listening to
Shout
this. I know we'll
out.
be on the
That's
telly.
unreal. That's
And
unreal.
Jake was put in his place, essentially. The Villa filler is more important than Jake Flower. Um,
100%. Sorry, Jake.
We need to get Jake on the podcast.
That's
I
a
think his mum
great
would love
story,
that.
mate.
Um, yeah, so I thought we'd start with something nice and
Keep it
positive.
bright. Keep it
Shout out
light.
to Dawn. Um,
100.
it's good to see Jake yesterday as well. But no, onto the football, mate. Onto the thing that nobody wants
Do
us
we
to
have
talk
to?
about.
Do we
Do
really?
you know what? Let's bring in Dawn. Let's get
Yes,
Dawn
come
on
on.
Zoom right now.
Some
She's
good
live in the
vibes.
studio.
Let's get some good
Um,
vibes.
mate, do you know what? I don't like. I sat here a week ago, right, with this crap setup because I'm at my parents' house still. Um, and I kind of went on a bit of I spoke about the whole my thoughts on just the Gerrard situation in general, and me think the brains behind the appointment being the assistants and all that kind of stuff, and how I felt Gerrard would have till Christmas at the most, the way I saw things going, and he could go earlier. And you guys in the comments gassed at me to the high heavens, right? Because now I don't see a single person, not only just on Twitter. You guys telling me I was living in a Twitter bubble. I can understand that to a certain extent. I didn't see a single person in that stadium, mate, who doesn't want him gone. That was incredibly toxic towards the end. And there was, I mean, what I thought was even more amazing was the fact that people were actually singing his name in the first half. And then come the end, there was boos all around. Gerrard wasn't even, he made a beeline for the tunnel, mate. Didn't even stay and clap the fans. And there was a few players who did and sort of looked in the eyes of Callum Chambers as he was looking at the hole. And it looked like he was giving a thumbs up, and it looked like we kind of caught eyes. Maybe he listens to the filler and knows that we're obviously huge admirers of him.
Oh,
so
sure,
I feel
yeah.
like I think we maybe shared a moment, me and Cal. He looked like he was genuinely hurting though. All jokes aside, I couldn't say the same about the rest of them, if I'm being honest. I feel so numb. I feel so angry. I feel it's like, not that I've ever been cheated on, but I feel like I'm being cheated on right now. Like I'm that angry. It's the thing is, mate, with this, and we'll get into some sort of analysis at the moment. This can just be the sort of the emotional anchor of the podcast. The writing has been on the wall for a while, right? It really has. And I've been willing to cut slack, as I've mentioned before, with the departure of Beale. And I think, and it could just be me, but I do genuinely think we have really struggled to recruit this summer. And we'll never know. That is just my opinion. It's a conspiracy. It's whatever. I think it's proven to be a lot more difficult to get the players that Gerrard wanted to get in through the door. And that's why we come into this season completely undercooked. Whatever you guys think about that, that's completely fine. As I say, that's just my opinion. And the writing's been on the wall for the longest time. And I'm so goddamn angry. I'm trying not to swear. I'm trying to be better on this podcast because I know I swear a lot. And I'm not like that. But I'm like, I was shaking walking out of Villa Park, mate. I say something because I don't know what to say, mate. I'm so angry.
Yeah, I think what this is, mate, is it's because it was so high in pre-season, wasn't it? The mood going in, the general sense of optimism going into this season was as high as generally as I can remember it. People were so excited about this season. Like, we both put us really high up in our Premier League predictions. A lot of Villa fans did. It seemed like there was a real space for us to break into the top 10. And I think that's what this is. It's because it's so unexpected, and it's this full, I don't want to say fall back down to earth, because like we never left, and that's the problem. We thought we were going to, and it's that realize that we haven't gone anywhere, and that we're still going through these motions. And look, like, you know, I'm not going to pluck a completely different tune to the one I said in the sort of the Bolton review, and like I brought a sense of optimism to that, and like I think that we are in this process of figuring things out, but ultimately that does have a time limit, and that process of giving managers time and giving them like the ability to unload a project and stuff like that. Obviously, it's going to be different depending on the manager, but ultimately there is a time frame to that, and there's a point at which you want to see some answers and everything like that. And I did feel that after Bolton, to be honest with you, the sort of furore and the sort of I sort of said this on the podcast. I was like, look, guys, like, you know, I know understand it wasn't the best performance in the world, but we got a good result better than a lot of teams did. And I think we should just kind of cut our losses and move away with a bit of a smile on that one, to be honest with you. But today was difficult, mate, because today felt like one of those games where you could feel it coming. Do you know what I mean? It's like once Dougie came off, everyone sort of went, ooh, which is good, by the way, because we've been saying that Dougie is the key man for this midfield for a long time. And that felt nice to be, on a selfish level, sort of vindicated personally. And he sort of came off, and you could feel the tide turning in the game, and West Ham were growing into it more, and we were struggling to create. And I mean, the first half is not really worth speaking on, to be honest with you, man. Like, it was dull. That's as boring of 45 minutes as I've watched in the Premier League, like, ever. Honestly can't remember a lot of first half. I found that stale. West Ham are really poor too. You know, we've always said, mate, if we're a side that are going to take ourselves seriously, you have to take advantage of these sides that come to you, and they're they're injured and they're down on their luck. And when you've got the amount of attacking talent that we have and the amount of options, we need to be putting these teams to bed. And it's frustrating to see that we haven't found a way to do that. The starting lineup confused me, to be honest with you. It's one that I'm surprised that we went back to that. I think we are crying out for more creativity in the side than what we went with. But I was willing to work with it because it's worked with us for games in the past. But to come up with a loss, and yeah, I think you're right, mate. What you said about Steve, you're not coming over to the Holt and everything like that at the end is not great, because ultimately I think that those kind of actions are what give you that time I'm talking about. If you go over to, like, we're all talking about at the moment how we feel quite disconnected with the club. And that sort of relationship that we had, that we spoke on the last podcast with sort of Villa Dean and Villa Jack and Villa Luke on the shirts has sort of gone out the window. That's how you get it back. It's just little gestures like that, going over to the fans at the end of the game, making sure the club goes with you, making sure that, you know, you all get time with the Holt end and everything like that. That's how you rebuild those relationships. And that's what buys you a few games into the future. Once fans see you turn your back and go straight down the tunnel, that frustration grows. And it's really difficult to know how long he'll get, because I think we both said in the last podcast, I think the World Cup was probably like we thought he'd get until about November, but that seems an awfully long time. But then August seems really soon. From the outside looking in, it's like it's so rare to see a Premier League club sack their manager in August. And I know that by the time we do something, it'd likely be September. But it's one of those, mate, where I'm not sure sacking. Like, if you sack him now, Neil Critchley's your caretaker. Is that better?
Well,
do you know what I mean? Like, because it's like, well, this is what I mean. Is like, so okay, we sack him now. We're not going to be able, because I don't think there's a manager right now in the like available market, manager that's not attached to a club, that is suitable for the job. So it's going to have to be another situation like where we went and got Gerrard, where we headhunt straight out of another job. And that means we're going to have to go at least one or two games where, like Stoke have just done it with Alex Neil, 1 or 2 games at least, where we go through that process where we've got Neil Critchley in charge, and those games against Arsenal and City, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Like, what is that? Is that better? Like, honestly, I don't know. The international break's in September, right? When is that first international break?
The first international break is after the Leicester game, I believe.
That is probably when, if we're going to see some action, I think you'll probably see it around then.
Well, if you lose that game, you're gone, right? Leicester,
that's what I mean.
Been atrocious. Like,
yeah, 100%.
you can almost say Arsenal and City are a free hit. You don't see, not a free hit, but you know what I mean. Like, we know Gerrard's not going to mastermind a win from them. I've just pulled up an article, mate, from 2018, bizjournals.com. Headlined, Wes Eden's Bucks needed to try something else in firing Jason Kidd. Dated back to 2018. And I'm going to quote the man himself directly here. From where the team started to where we are, we've done a lot of things that we like, but we haven't won a championship yet. Of course, the Bucks have now won one. This is back in 2018. And sometimes if you want to make a change, the only change you can make is at the top. It's not like you're going to move out one of the assistant coaches or whatever. That's the difficult thing to say, but to do it, if you're really true to what your ambitions are and to what the objectives are for the team and for the organisation that you're trying to build, then the standards are pretty high and you just have to act on those things. One thing I will caveat that statement with is, in the NBA, they could genuinely hire and fire like this, like a club could hire and fire like 3 managers in a month. The same club, it's that mental. But when there's a lot of money involved, mate, which there is in English football, much like the NBA, it's within the club's best interest to look out for itself and not for Steven Gerrard. Now, there's been a lot of rumours, and I will just say they're rumours because I don't know this for fact, that Christian Purslow has shares in Aston Villa. Have you heard this,
Yeah, I've
Dan?
seen these. I've
Right
seen these.
now, first, like he made it his mission, his sole objective, to go out and get Steven Gerrard to the club. Right, but right or wrong, he's gone and got his mate from Liverpool, who he knew would somewhat raise the commercial profile, the global profile of Aston Villa Football Club. And, you do have to say, without Steven Gerrard in, do we get Boubacar Kamara? Do we get Felipe Coutinho? I think you get Dean. And I think you definitely get Ludwig. And maybe even a Diego Carlos as well. But do you get them too? I'm not entirely sure, to be quite honest. So that is important to caveat when we kind of bring this criticism of Steven Gerrard on board. But Christian Purslow has brought in a man who has been a step backwards, if not at the very least, a complete sidestep from firing Dean Smith. A man who, in my opinion, had the rug completely pulled from underneath him following the sale of Grealish and the poor recruitment from there, because like Ings, Buendia, and Bailey, 3 players who I love, 3 players who I know you love, mate. All 3 of them have been a fucking disaster, right? Because none of them have like integrated into the team like correctly. So they're 3 awful signings. They just are. Let's call it, let's like call a spade a spade. That's a Christian Purslow decision right there. Then it's a Christian Purslow decision to get Steven Gerrard in. This is his sword to fall on, mate. They all have to go. It's not enough just getting rid of Steven Gerrard. You have to get rid of Johan Langer. That man's not smiled for months now. All he was doing was smiling before. And then Christian Purslow as well. And obviously that kind of makes it tricky with the fact that he may allegedly have shares. Again, I don't know that. I'm sure it's something you can look up on Company's House. And it's probably something that I may do just to clarify this for the next episode. But if that's true, then Wes and Nassef, or anybody, let's pull together. Let's pull together and buy his fucking shares, mate. Let's get him out of the club, because it's smart. It's smart from Perslow's perspective, right? He's invested in the, like, he's quite, like, by definition invested in the club, which only strengthens his own position.
But he is a minority. He's a minority shareholder in the club. I've just
there we go.
Confirmed.
So, fantastic. Thank you for checking that, mate. So it's genius from Purslow, and I expect nothing more from someone like him. He clearly knew exactly what he's doing. He's here to make a quick buck, and it's all this like fucking posh Tory bravado. Like he's just a prick, mate. I want him gone, and he's like 2 foot, and he acts as if he's like 7 foot. That's something that bothers me. Short people who've got little man syndrome. But that's besides the point. This is his sword to fall on. Ultimately, he has to go. They all have to go, and we're in this predicament whereby, will Purslow go? Clearly not. If he's a minority shareholder, how many shares does he own? Does it say, mate?
It doesn't say. So I've got an article here from FC Business, which is a quite reliable football finance sort of magazine, and it just says he will join the club's controlling shareholders. That's when he joined, along with, so obviously he joined, Tony Gier was still in then, so he's included in this article. But it just says along with Nassef Wes, and at the time, Dr. Tony as a minority investor. So I don't think it's anything too large. And so obviously he's a sort of controlling shareholder now, and you can remove him sort of to a position of like a non-executive director, where you can still have shares in the club, but obviously his sort of ability to make decisions and sort of exercise his role as sort of chief exec is sort of lessened. So maybe that's a very complicated thing to do, and that's what I mean. Like with this sacking, man, is like not something that we can do between game, especially when we play midweek, right? Like
Arsenal on Wednesday.
Yeah. So this is not happening soon. Like this is like open heart surgery on the football club. Like if we do go down that route of getting rid of Purslow and everything as well, I imagine that it would maybe be a sort of something where we appoint the manager, and then at the end of the season, maybe that restructuring process takes place. because that's something that's very difficult to be doing mid-season. I don't know, mate. It's very difficult, and I think we not only we can't do it now, but I think we have to give to the end of the transfer window, see who comes in. One thing I will, and this is very few things I will defend Steven Gerrard on, was his approach to the press conference the other day, where people were sort of saying he approached it quite laissez-faire in terms of like getting deals done and everything like that, which is exactly how you want to be. Like you don't, because if you go out in a press conference, you're like, oh my God, we're so desperate. Obviously, this is a bit sort of hyperbole, but like you're like, we're so desperate for players. We please give us players.
But that's the mood on Twitter, right? You know?
Yeah. If the manager's saying that in press conferences, then suddenly you're paying 40 million for Jan Bednarek because Southampton know you're desperate for a centre half. Whereas if you go and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And clubs get the sort of idea that you might walk if they put a fee up that's too big, then then suddenly you're operating at a far better price. And I was like, I sort of saw everyone saying, "What? We're way more desperate than that. Like, why is he acting like this and everything?" I'm like, because like that's how you can't be in press conferences and giving clubs the impression that you're desperate. And obviously, I know it's hard enough as it is at the end of the window, like to get deals done at good prices, let alone in the situation that we're in. So I think the transfer window, see who comes in these last few days is important. I think this result has only heightened the need for good players. I think that, again, who comes in is just a real mystery to me, mate. A real mystery.
Especially when it's like so up in it. Like, we've literally just spent 15 minutes talking about why he should be sacked. Who's going to come and not know who the boss is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's who the profile of players that come in. It's like the club right now. Players have joined clubs in more precarious situations. I don't think our results are anything to go by. But yeah, I mean, the recruitment around the club right now does seem a little bit scattergun, and it's a little bit concerning for me that we've seemed to appoint two quite level-headed sort of directors of football now. And neither of them have really worked. Lange is the second one, obviously, since we've come up, and it has not gone well. And I don't know, mate. It's a real difficult one for me, and it's a shame because you're right in saying that the Arsenal and the Man City games are free hits, but in the terms of the mood of the fan base, they're absolutely not. They're absolutely not. As it's like, we know full well we're going to go to the Emirates and lose. And we know full well that we're going to lose to Man City as well. But when we do lose both of those games, that's not to say we won't be pissed off about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're still going to be mightily upset. It's still only going to worsen the mood. We're not going to come out of those games but we there's no way we're going to get any points from those. And don't worry about it, Stevie. Obviously, it's only going to make it worse, which means on that Leicester game, you imagine they're going to be in a better place by then because it's hard to be in a worse place than they are right now. That's huge. And then that international break, mate, I think is if we're going to do something, we need to do it then. And so, yeah, that's what my eyes would be on, mate. But as in terms of who comes into the dugout is completely beyond me. I can't even offer up a suggestion.
We'll do it. Why not?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. I will need a lot of research and a lot of mental gymnastics, not to just say Graham Potter because he was born in Solihull.
Well, that's the one, isn't it? That's the one that everyone wants.
How much would you have to pay Brighton, though, man?
Well, there was rumours. There was rumours that we initially went for him, but they wanted too much compensation. And how much is too much compensation? Because didn't we pay like a couple milli to Rangers?
Yeah, we paid like 2-3 mil. I think they're going to want some. I think they're going to want
like 10 mil.
Money.
More than that. Graham Potter is almost like, you remove the man. I think ideally, like Brighton are run and the signings that are made by the director of football and everything that's done transcends the current manager, right? Which is how clubs should be run. I do think if you take Graham Potter out of Brighton, though, I think they would still play the same football and style. I don't necessarily think they'd get the same results because, who would they get in September if we just come and steal them. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like you can see them wanting it's worth like 130 mil to be in the league. I'm not saying that they're going to ask for 130 mil, but like it's that difference between being a Premier League club and being a Championship club for Brighton to keep Potter in it. So I feel like I can't really like. I don't have anything to say on Graham Potter. Like if he's appointed, brilliant. If he's not, like I'm not surprised. Like I don't know. I just think, like, are we going to play 3 back? Like with all of the centre halves we've got? I don't know. I don't really have much to say on that. I think we should probably end the podcast here, mate. You've had a long day. Villa are crap. But you guys are awesome. Actually, do you know what we've not done, mate? We need because obviously we've not been around and sort of games. We've had games with like FPL.
The FPL league.
FPL, man, right?
I'm on the up, man.
You've had a good week, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm on the up. I'm back. I'm on 79
Kane's
points.
Missed a penalty or had a penalty saved today, but he still scored 2 goals. So that's done all right for you there. I'm on 69 points. But if we go and look in the Villa League, I've risen to 7th. Dan Horton, shout out to Dan, by the way. Dan runs an FPL account. So this is kind of a bit sus that Dan's top. Dan's a bit of an FPL wizard. His team name is Salad Thinkers. And do you know what? It's funny. So many people have captained Salah, but like as long as you got Diaz and Trent, you're still in the money, right?
100%. 100%.
So, looking at that, I mean, we've got David Smullen, Cancelo Culture, brilliant name, in 2nd place. Peter Sweeney in 3rd. Dan, where are you at in the league?
I'm 13th, which might not sound remotely impressive, but I was about 30th last week.
Yeah,
so
you was.
Yeah. It's quite an improvement from me.
You've got Gross, man. I was going to bring Gross in, but I've like hesitated, and he's performing.
I dropped the wild card, mate.
Game week rogue. 4.
Yes, sir.
That's early, man. I know we get like double the chips this time because of the World Cup.
I went rogue. Dropped the wild card, and to be fair, I was worried about it, but it has paid off for me.
You got 6 point Perisic on the bench. That's peak.
Yeah, that is tough. I thought Trippier would have a better game than Perisic, but apparently not. He got the assist, I think. Oh no, the clean sheet. So tough on that. But
if you guys want to join the league, it's there.
Still there. Still there.
Yeah, and it's you don't like lose points. I found out because we added Jake to the league, and Jake's come in on his points, so you don't come in at 0.
Oh, good.
So that's good. So anybody who's doing FPL, like we're giving away a shirt to the winner at the end of the season. If you win, and if either me or Dan win, then whoever doesn't win has to buy the other person a shirt. That's how it's going to be. But yeah, if you enjoyed, hit a like, comment your thoughts below, guys, and subscribe for more of the Villa.